The opinions shared in this podcast are those of the host and are not meant to reflect the positions of NAMI Oklahoma or licensed professionals. If you have questions or concerns about your own mental health, please reach out to a qualified expert, and remember, if you are ever in a crisis, you can call or text 988.
Howdy, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Mindful Moments with NAMI Next Gen Council. My name is Maya Williams-Furaha.
And I'm Emma Valgora.
Beautiful. And today we're going to be talking about how to talk about mental illness or mental health with your family.
So today we have a few different topics to go over with you guys, but all of them have to do with talking to families. And I would like to first disclose that we aren't professionals, but we are adolescents who have struggled with our mental health and who have had to have those hard conversations with families. And so we have a few different topics to break down about why it's important to be open with your family and about just generational stigma that can occur. And so we have some questions that are going to kind of guide the conversation, and we'll just start there.
Nearly 2/3 of people with a diagnosable mental illness don't seek treatment, often due to stigma or fear of family reaction. Why do you think families struggle to talk about mental health, and how has your family attitude toward mental health changed over time?
That right there is a conversation or a question with many layers. Why do families struggle to talk about mental health? I think that conversation is hard for people due to the fact that it makes us confront ourselves. Because if your child is telling you that they are struggling with depression and anxiety, as a parent, I can only imagine how that feels to hear, and how that could lead to some blame on yourself. Like, well, why does my child feel this way? What am I supposed to do to help them? And I think it can put a lot of stress on other people in the family to like work through those feelings with the person who's suffering, and also just like them taking on those feelings themselves. I know in my family, when I began to exhibit a struggle with my mental health, my dad especially took it really personally for some reason. He took it very personally, and he was just like, well, I do all these things for you. Like, how would you possibly be depressed? How could you be anxious? Like, I do all this stuff. And it's just like, well, Dad, like, this isn't about you. It's not about the family. This is like a me thing. And so I think it can be really hard for the people who are hearing it, and also for the person that has to tell their family, like, I'm struggling with this. Like,
That's hard.
like, how do you tell your parents, you do all these things for me, I love you so much, I really appreciate you all, but I am depressed, I am anxious, I am sad? Like, how do you tell them that without making your family feel like it's their fault? And so,
Well, I think that's a conversation that we just struggle to have with anyone. Like, it's not fun to be vulnerable and to share that you are struggling and that you are hurting. Like, that's not fun with anyone. But especially your family. Like, it's like you said, those are like your people. Those are the people you've known your whole life, and they love you and support you in different ways. And those are really hard conversations to have. And I have a different standpoint. When I told my mom, she was more so disappointed that I hadn't told her sooner.
yeah.
So I actually have a really different experience. She was more so sad that I was struggling alone and that she didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I also just think it's interesting how every family and every person you talk to, they're gonna have different feelings. And that's also why it's so scary, is because you don't know, you can't predict this reaction.
Exactly.
But it's important still.
Very important. I was definitely very scared to tell my dad, because Black people, Black people. I love them, but there's so much stigma in the Black community about mental health, especially being a young Black woman, of like, well, you should just be strong. And like, I've always felt that way. Like, I cannot tell you the first time I heard that you have to be 10 times smarter, 10 times better, all these different things of like, I have to be more, I have to be harder, I have to be stronger. And so when I was dealing with these things, it was just like, well, I'm not supposed to, because I'm a Black woman. And then like, my ancestors have gone through so much more. And it's just like, I minimized my own experience based on what my family had been through generationally. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be sad. How do I tell them that I'm sad when like my grandmother literally had to fight for her civil rights? Like, how dare I be sad when my great grandmother was a slave? So like, how do you, how can I make myself have this conversation with people who have been through what, and there's no worse trauma, but in my mind, worse trauma than me. It just made me feel like really weird and guilty to even like.
As I said, he said he dumped me. That was the answer. I've never bought a before, to be honest. Yeah.
Surveys by the American Psychological Association show that older generations are less likely to discuss mental health openly, while Gen Z and millennials report much higher comfort levels. As two members of Gen Z, what made you comfortable or uncomfortable talking about it?
I think I was very uncomfortable talking about it. I feel like people, whenever you throw out that there's a mental health stigma, they're like, oh, this again. But like it's so real. It's real, and it's so uncomfortable to talk about when you're struggling. That's hard to do, and that's not fun. And so for me, it was uncomfortable having that first conversation with my family. Because like I said, it's not easy to do. And I think though something that helped was my family's reaction. And I think that what led me to have that conversation, even while I was uncomfortable having it, was that it needed to happen. I needed a person. I had that conversation when I was just at my lowest moment with my mental health. And at that time, like I didn't have a counselor or a therapist, and I just needed a person who I knew was going to be in my corner and who was going to help me and take care of things.
So are you, sorry, I'm gonna answer this question, but I have a follow-up question for you because my experience is a little bit different. Do you think that, from what I'm hearing, you have a really good relationship with your mom, the person that you tell? So would you say like the existing relationship that you had with her of love and trust made it easier for you to have that conversation with her because there is that love and trust there?
It made it a lot easier because I did know it was there. I did know she was going to be there to love me and to help me. But it also made it that much harder because I knew I didn't want to like disappoint her.
Right.
Like I didn't want to tell her those things and have her feel like she like messed up as a parent, or like she failed me or like let me down, because she didn't in a way. But so it was like a double-edged.
Yeah.
There was both. I knew that she was going to be there and understand, but I also was fearful because of how good of a mom she was. I didn't want her to like blame herself for her parenting.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So that was my experience. But
for me, I had a very different experience. I didn't really trust my dad or my stepmother growing up. Kind of still don't. With my mental health. And so I was kind of forced into having the conversation because I was hospitalized due to an attempt on my own life. And so I was kind of forced to have that conversation. And even then I wasn't comfortable. I would say what has made me comfortable now is being an adult. I'll be 25 in December, and it's something about realizing that like I'm the person that has to take control of that and set boundaries and express what it is that I'm feeling that has made me just, I wouldn't say I'm not fearful, but I kind of just don't care because it's about me now and what's best for me. And so growing up, becoming an adult, becoming into my own self has made me realize I have to take that into my own hands. And there's nobody that's going to explain to my parents that like, hey, these things that happen, like they really affected my mental health. And this is how they affect my mental health. Now, like nobody's going to explain that to them, and they'll never learn unless I say something. So becoming an adult with autonomy and recognizing that I'm the only person that can do this, the only person that can have these hard conversations, has pushed me into just being honest. And I tell my dad and my mom now all the time, like, I'm grown. Like, I am so grown. And I have like, I live alone. I pay my own bills. I have no reason to lie to y'all. I have no reason to hide these feelings from y'all. And so I might as well just say it.
yeah.
Because we're getting old.
And I think that that's so cool that we have those different perspectives, because I think that a lot of people are fearful to talk to their families because like your experience, they may not trust their family with that information. They may not feel comfortable or safe sharing that. And so you are like a living proof of your experience of that happening.
Yeah.
And that it can still be beneficial, even if they may not fully understand or support you, like you have found people in your life and things in your life that have helped you and supported you, and you still had that important conversation that needed to happen.
Definitely.
Low criticism, high support families improve recovery outcomes. What does genuine support from family look like to you?
So in my case, it was mainly having a support system and having people who would listen and like hear what I was saying and not judge based on that, but ask what they could do to help.
Yeah.
And so like asking about getting me into a therapist, asking about like, are you wanting to harm yourself? Like asking those important questions and seeing what they could do to be of support, but not through judgment, but through like love, like wanting to help. Because it's like that statistic said, low judgment, but high like caring for your people. Well, that's really important.
And there's definitely a difference. I'll say, I guess I've just had a real better experience.
This podcast is bringing us.
It really is. And I'm like, wait, thank God I have therapy this week. I would say, okay, to answer that, I would have to say what the opposite is, because I had the opposite end of that. And what I guess what I would have liked differently. Out of my family, I got a lot of judgment. I was a huge self-harmer. And instead of like anyone asking me like, hey, why are you wearing hoodies in North Carolina in the summer when it's 120 degrees outside, I got laughed at instead by my own family. And they were just like, ha, she's weird. And that was not good. That was not good for my mental health at all, because I'm already struggling with self-image. And it's just like, oh, no one's like seeing me.
That's the reality for some family. Yeah, that's a very real experience.
It's like, it's not care. It's more so a laugh about it. And like I said, I grew up with my dad and my stepmom. I will say support for me looks like what I got from my my actual mother. Love her down. If you're watching, Miss Leslie, you're my hero. That looked like just patience. I can be very, very moody and irritable. And it is because I want to talk, but I don't know how.
And I want someone who wants to talk to you.
Exactly. I don't want to have to push to get someone to ask me if I'm okay. Like if I were to call my mom right now, I sound okay, so she probably wouldn't ask me. But if I called my mom and I was feeling away, you know, she would ask, and I'm like a pushy way, just, hey, what's going on today? Like, how are you feeling? And it's like in the small things for me, I think that family can be a support. Yeah. Tiny little things like, hey, my mom notices, you haven't called me in a few days. Especially if I don't FaceTime. If she doesn't see my face, then she can't see how I'm feeling. And so she knows that I'm hiding from her. And she'll be like, you haven't FaceTime me in a few days. Like, what's going on? No big pushes of, are you feeling so? Nothing like that. Just, what's going on? How are you feeling? Just like, look at your things. Yeah, just small little things. Yeah. My siblings, they also call me often, and I call them often. And it's just, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
What's going on? Are you okay? I hadn't heard from you. And just like the type of family that I'm in, they're not super emotional. My family is very like hard. They're going to make fun of you as a way to show their love. And so it can be like, oh, so bro, you depressed? Ha ha ha. But then we can actually talk about it. And it's like, just, I don't know, just like not making the conversation too heavy for me is super supportive, because like we talked about earlier, the conversations can be hard when it's just like, okay, family, let's all sit down. I'm depressed. I'm plotting. I'm scheming. I don't know what to do. If it's just like me and my siblings laugh, I'm like, bro, you ain't calling me in a few days. You're depressed? What's going on? Like, that feels good to me. An easy, flowing conversation of like, we can just talk. It doesn't have to be too heavy.
Well, and I think, and I'm not trying to totally sidetrack the girl. No, you're there. But something that comes to mind from what you said that was really important for me was that sometimes the family that you talk to is not by blood.
Ooh, that's a good point.
I have a lot of like family, because like my family is my mom and my sister. That is my family. All of my other family, extended family, lives in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've found family through the people who show up for me and the people who speak to me the way you just described. And I think that's really important to anyone who feels like they might not be able to talk to their family or like the experience you had with your family. Like, I think that that's when you find people to lean on who can be your family,
Right.
even if that's not through blood.
I love that you mentioned that family is not,
Does not.
it is not by blood. The people that
Let's try to go in. Yeah.
the people that check on me the most personally has to be my mom. And then outside of that, it's like Haley. Haley's just me all the time. She's like, hey, girl, I haven't heard from you. You bet? Kind of like, oh, girl, I'm struggling. Or just like my besties or like people I met in college or people I've met through different organizations. Like those people are my family as well. And they make those conversations easier because it's not, it's not the lady that pushed me out. That sounds really crazy to say it like that, but like,
Your family experience. And so if that is like what you're experiencing, let us be the first to tell you, like, that is so okay. That is so understandable. And that you have other people in your corner. You have people who want to be your family, and it's a good reminder to check in on your default.
it is a crazy.
Yeah, because you could be their family, and you could be the person who turns their day around by asking them about their mental health.
Often have the language and boundaries to frame mental health conversations more clearly than they did as kids. But do you think parents underestimate kids' ability to talk about mental health?
Definitely.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes, I do.
It's like, I think of how in personal experience, right? I'm sure not all parents are like this, but how invalidating my parents were if I even said something like, I'm sad. And it's like, well, what do you have to be sad about? I'll give you something to be sad about. It's like, whoa, why you have to beat me? Like, I don't know how we got from I'm sad to this is a personal problem and now you have to show me why I'm sad. But I do think parents just don't recognize that children are little humans with autonomy.
Like with minds that are
They're all
growing and struggling.
yeah, like children are their own people and they have their own feelings. I think that a lot of parents can have a slightly narcissistic view on their children in that like their children are a part of them. And like, well, you shouldn't be sad because I'm not sad and I do all these things for you. And it's like, well, no, I'm like my own person. And like, I can vocalize the fact that I am sad or I feel like I'm missing something. Or I don't think I had the language to describe that I was anxious, but like I would tell my parents, like, I don't want to leave the house. Like, I'm scared to leave the house. And it was just like, well, doesn't matter. You're going to church. And so I definitely think that my parents didn't recognize me as a person, a human with autonomy within myself as a child. And now as an adult that I'm having these conversations with my parents and I really don't care anymore. I just kind of say what I'm feeling. It's hard for them because they're like, wait, you're a real person. Like, you're not just like a part of me. You're a whole human with your own experience. And so, and I do recognize that I have a better language and I have the
Like the knowledge to like express like the scientific reason for your yeah.
and it's like, no, I'm not blaming you, Dad, that I'm sad. I'm just telling you I'm sad. And I also have the wherewithal to set boundaries as well. It's like, if I tell you how I'm feeling, I'm trusting you with that. And if you laugh at me, I will not speak to you. If you do this, then I can set boundaries now. And so I think it's easier to have those conversations because I can implement that safety myself. But as a child, I could not implement that. And it felt like my parents just did not understand. Like, I am a human and I feel things.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually am trying to think, and I really don't think I had any conversations about mental health like as a young child. And I should have, because I was a hot mess as a child. Like my family should have had some conversations, but we did not. But one thing that really, really comes to my mind right now is that I work a lot in schools right now. I have a children's book that I take into schools because when I look at the mental health crisis we're having right now, and I think it's in large part due to the lack of education and resources in K through 12 schools.
Right.
We are not like telling children that it's okay to speak up when they're struggling.
Right.
And so I like to work with children, and a lot of people ask me like, don't you think they're too young to speak to them about that? No. And yeah, but like you'd be shocked how many people are like, but yeah, but they're kindergartners. You can't talk to them about mental health. And it's like, no, it's important to use good language. But I do think a lot of adults underestimate young children because of their age. And if anything, though, in the news, we are seeing younger and younger ages children dying by suicide. We are seeing younger and younger ages struggling. And so, if anything, that's more reason that I think a lot of adults and parents do underestimate their children's ability to talk about mental health. But I think it makes it even more important to start laying that groundwork and teaching them about mental health while they're young, so that then when they are old enough to be experiencing like those big feelings,
Right.
a mental health crisis, they know what it is and they know that it's okay to reach out for help and for resources when they need it.
Definitely. I will say I'm not so much full-time anymore. I'm just part-time now, but I was a full-time nanny from 18 to 23. And I worked with children from literally 6 months old to 13 was the oldest. And one thing I that was really important to me going into childcare was being aware of children as their own people.
Yeah.
And I specifically work with children with troubled backgrounds, children who are considered to be air quote troublemakers. I don't think any child is a bad child. But I specifically work with those children because I understand that every action out of a child is based on an unmet need. And maybe that unmet need is no one's listening to them. No one is hearing them when they're saying, I'm angry. And it's like, okay, you're angry, but we can work through this feeling together. You're not just angry, you're disappointed. You're not just disappointed, you're sad. And so when I went into this field for myself as an adult now that didn't have people in my corner as a child who understood that I was a person with autonomy who had their own mental health, I knew that I had to be that person to step in for children and be that bridge between empathy, the bridge between them and their parents. And one of the families that I've worked with for the longest, they had a lot of issues, and after their parents would get home, like I'd sit down with their mom and I'd be like, hey, like he's really struggling because he's sad because you said you would do this thing and you didn't. And so this is making him feel like this and this is feel like that. No, he's this. And it's showing up as him acting out, right? That's what it looks like. But just being able to be that bridge between parents and children of like, your kid is not a bad kid. Your kid is sad. Your kid is disappointed. You let your kid down or whatever it is that they're feeling. Like there are feelings that are associated with the actions that they're having, and children can have these big feelings and it just shows up in different ways. So being that bridge has definitely healed me a lot and shown me that children, they have the capacity to feel victims, and they also have the capacity when given the understanding and given the time and the space and the respect that they can vocalize those feelings that they're having.
Completely.
How do you protect your peace when family members still don't understand?
Hey, I'm gonna let Maya take it away on this.
Yeah,
Do we, girl?
As anybody in my family and my life in general will tell you, it ain't nothing to cut you off. Very simply, I think for myself, I really have to learn to set boundaries with my family.
Plug for our boundaries episode. Hey, if you struggle with setting boundaries, go watch that. That's a good lesson.
Yes.
Very important.
Definitely setting boundaries with my family has been really important to me. And some people in my family call me sensitive, and I really don't care anymore. And I just let it be known. Like if I feel disrespected and invalidated when I tell you that I don't like you laughing at my mental health. If you continue to laugh when I come to you about a mental health issue that I am having, then I will no longer speak to you. And that is quite simply that. I have literally cut off family members because they are invalidated.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes for me to get through my journey, then that's just unfortunately what it has to be. And it's not that I love my family. I really, really do. But I have to set those boundaries for my own mental health and safety. And I was talking to my therapist the other day. Love my therapist. Love for Red Rock. Go check them out. I was talking to my therapist the other day about how I really love my dad. I do not appreciate the way my dad invalidates me. And he said to me, he was like, you know, you can love your dad. You can love your dad and hate the way he treats you. And those things can be true at once. And you can love your dad and you cannot speak to him. And all of that can be true. And so it's a lesson that I've learned because I take things very personally of just like, well, I need to forgive them. Well, I need my family in my life. So like, I just have to accept this. It's a lesson that I've had to learn, but I don't have to disrespect myself. I don't have to trigger myself and I don't have to harm myself in order to keep people in my life. And we set boundaries, not because we want to push people out, but because we want to show them what we need from them to keep them in our lives. So setting boundaries for me,
It's like for your health and your safety.
for my own safety, like I don't want to have to get on the phone with my dad and be like, hey, so I'm really struggling this week. And he'd be like, oh, okay, no one cares. Oh, you're going to get blocked. Quite simply. Like and it has just, you know, I may have told him once or twice, like, hey, like, I don't like when you do that. Can you please not do that? If you don't have anything nice to say, just say I don't have the capacity, you know? And so once those lines are crossed for my own mental health and safety, I have to bow out and I can love you as much as I want to, but I love me so much more than I'll ever love another person. And that's just, yeah, you know, sometimes that's just what it has to be. And it sucks. It sucks a lot. And you will lose a lot of people, not just family. I've lost friends because I'm anxious. And I don't want to go to the clubs and I don't want to do these things. And they don't understand that. And I'm like, well, these are my boundaries. And if you can't accept that and respect me, then
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to be up at night tossing and turning and crying, being sad and feeling invalidated.
Yeah.
When I can just let those people be.
Yeah.
So
I don't personally have anything to add family-wise like you just did. I guess all that I would add to this conversation is going back to finding your people, finding peer support. And so when you're having those conversations with families, if it's not benefiting your mental health and your security and your peace, that happens. Like, you're not alone in that. And so, like, for both of us, having a therapist, big outlet, big help. Having like a person who is there for you, who is a professional, who like validates and gives opinions and feedback and support, that's been a big help. I also think finding your family, whoever that may be, that's the ultimate apple answer for me.
I like that you mentioned having a therapist as an outlet, because one of the things I've had to learn, and that I'm trying to tell some of my friends too, is that like, I recognize that people don't have the capacity for my mental health issues, and that is okay. I don't need to tell my homegirls when I'm having a BPD split. I don't have to tell my parents. I don't tell anybody that, because that's a lot to put on another person. And a lot of people don't understand BPD, and that's okay. So I have to learn because they don't understand it, I have
Someone who does.
Exactly. Because why would I keep going to, I love my dad, right? I know my dad doesn't understand BPD. I am not going to continue to try to have a conversation with this man about BPD and triggering myself when I could just go to my therapist. You don't understand this, and that's okay. Same for my mom, my sisters, anyone, like friends, family, anyone. I recognize it's not my family's job to, therapize me. They're not trained professionals for that. And so like having that outlet is important, because then you're not as frustrated with people because they don't get it. Like, well, it's not your job to. You know, I can tell you that I'm anxious, and if you don't get it, cool. I'm going to talk to my therapist this week about it, and how dare you will look at it. Exactly. I don't have to put that weight on you. So I think it's really also just like knowing the limits of the people that you're around, and knowing who's who to talk to about certain things. I can talk to my mom about my BPD. She might not get it all the way, but she's going to let me talk about it. And she's not going to say anything. And she's just going to take it and whatever. I know I can't talk to my sister about that because she's going to be like, you're insane. What do you mean you suddenly hate the person that you were just in love with? I don't know, Diva. But I know I can't talk to her about that. So I'm not going to put that on her. And it's just like, you know, not having those expectations of people who don't have the capacity. Well, limiting your expectations of other people, oh, it'll change your life. It will literally change your life. I'm not expecting you to do too much, so you can never let me down. Has been really important.
How could we break the family stigma together?
So I think this is different for every individual person. Like, especially like Maya and I here have just two completely different stories about family stigma. And so my suggestion would just be to be open and authentic with those conversations. You might not get that support from your family. Like, that's just an honest answer. But at the end of the day, bottling it up and feeling like you have no one to turn to, that's not the right answer either. And that's just not going to be healthy for you. And so I think it's important to be open with your family, be transparent, lean on them. And like in my case, my family was there to support me, and it helped. And in that way, we started breaking the family stigma by having a family understand and come together to help each other. If that's not the case, then I think from there, you've done what you can. You've had those conversations that need to happen. And from there, it's up to you to take the steps to take care of yourself, find the people who will also take care of you and let you lean on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So that's my advice.
I think for me, like you said, we have drastically different experiences. I'd say being realistic with who your family is and what their beliefs are will, again, like I just said, limiting your expectations of people will really help, you know, with disappointment. If you know that you come from a family that does not acknowledge mental health, I would say just be safe. If you know it's not safe to have those conversations, and I know it's like, no, we should be saying you need to talk to them regardless, but I want to be honest with people. I know what it's like to try to have those conversations with unsafe people and how that can harm you. It can harm you a lot more than it'll do you good. So I'd say, one, be realistic. Know who your family is. If you know they're going to laugh in your face, maybe find your chosen family to talk to about these things. And if maybe it's just that your family, you don't know how they respond. It's like what Emma said, you know, be open, be honest, be transparent, go into that conversation with vulnerability, but just be safe with it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you know you will be harmed. I know there are certain people in my family I can't talk to, and that is just okay. That is fine. I don't have that expectation of them. But if you do have that family that you're just not sure, just a little toe in the water, you know?
Yeah, start with honestly disappointed that you trusted them enough to like ask for their help.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you all so much for watching episode 6 of Mindful Moments, where we share just a little bit of our experience and some tips and tricks for starting that conversation with your family on mental health.
Yeah, we just wanted to close by sharing some resources in case you feel like you might not have someone to share with or to turn to. So if that describes you, please know that you can always reach out to the 988 number. They're a mental health and suicide crisis hotline, and they're available 24/7 for free. And then we also have NAMI Oklahoma peer support groups and resources that you can check into on our website. So just know that if your family might not be open to those conversations that need to be had, there are resources and there are people who are there for you, who are willing to help you and have those conversations.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see you all next one for episode 7. And remember, please drink when you're hungry, eat when you're thirsty, and please take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.